Dear students, moving on to part 4, to the introduction of animal behavior, I would be ending up this topic with this part 4, talking about the mechanisms which control behavior. So, mechanisms of controlling behavior under the subheads genetic mechanisms. Animal behavior is the result of multiple interacting forces related to an individual genes, its physiology and development, and the internal and external environments in which they live. There is genetic variation among individuals of a population for behaviors related to survival and reproduction. Successful behaviors are passed on to the next generation and may evolve over time. Researchers employ the scientific method and standardized protocols to measure and thus understand behavior. The results of animal behavior research inform ecology and evolution and assist in solving problems related to conservation. Many organizations and institutions specialize in providing information on animal behavior and opportunities for professional experiences. Both genes and the environment influence behavior, and scientists studying behavior focus on the interaction between these two factors. Genes, via their influences on morphology and physiology, create a framework within which the environment acts to shape the behavior of an individual animal. The environment can affect morphological and physiological development. In turn, behavior develops as a result of that animal's shape and internal workings. Physiological mechanisms. The hormones secreted by animal species are responsible for behavioral responses. For example, the corticosteroids often become elevated in individuals during stressful conditions. Under these circumstances, reproductive and territorial behaviors are suppressed and escape behaviors are promoted. So, there are genetic mechanisms. Definitely, the genetic makeup of an individual is responsible for elucidating a specific response. Why does an individual, that is, we have already discussed the fixed action pattern, the innate behavior is definitely because of its genetic makeup. Then these genetic makeup are responsible for the physiology also of an organism. And now the physiology, if we talk about, basically the hormones. The internal medium of any organism comprises of, if we say in general, the blood. And this blood comprises of the secretions of the endocrine system, which are the hormones. Now these hormones are responsible for various features, various characteristics of an individual, including the behavioral response. Certain hormones, which basically are corticosteroids in nature, have been observed uh, to be secreted in individuals, and when these are secreted, specifically these are secreted during stressful conditions, and the release of these corticosteroids um, in individuals, it suppresses the reproductive and territorial behavior. Instead of attacking, it prefers to escape. So, the physiological mechanism, especially the secretion of hormones, are also responsible for a particular response or particular behavioral response. Development from embryo to juvenile stages influences behavior in the adult. Resources availability in early development in two species of primates, bonobos, that is a small sized chimpanzee, and chimpanzees, influences whether adults are prone to sharing food. Now, what one shows, or what a response is shown by an individual at a juvenile or a young stage, is not necessary it would be shown in the adulthood, or it can be shown, it not necessary, both the things can be there. So, example here given is of bonobos, which is a small sized chimpanzee, and the normal chimpanzee. So the resource availability, how much food is available, it influences whether adults are prone to sharing food or not. Bonobos live where food is plentiful and do not compete with each other or other species for this resource, because food is available in plentiful. There is no competition. Everyone has its own say. One can eat to whatever limit they want to. They grow up sharing food with other individuals, and sharing is maintained into adulthood. So, because from the early development, from the juvenile, from the young age, they have ample food. There is no issue of fighting for food. On the other hand, chimpanzees compete with each other and gorillas for food throughout their lives. While if we talk about the chimpanzees, other than bonobos, they would fight with each other and also with the other organisms, inter as well as intraspecific struggle, or this uh, competition takes place, because gorilla is totally different than chimpanzee. Juvenile chimpanzees do not share food with other individuals, and adults retain this non-sharing behavior. So because the young chimpanzees also don't share food, and so the adults as well have the same characteristic. It goes up to the end. The modern discipline of ethology is generally considered to have begun during the 1930s with the work of Dutch biologist Nicholas Tinbergen and of Austrian biologists Konrad Lorenz and Karl von Frisch. As has already been told, ethology combines laboratory and field science with a strong relation to some other disciplines such as neuroanatomy, ecology, and evolutionary biology. It is a rapidly growing field. Since the dawn of 21st century, researchers have re-examined and reached new conclusions in many aspects of animal communication, emotions, culture, learning, and sexuality that the scientific community long thought that it had well understood. New fields such as neuroethology have developed. So, with this, I end up with the introduction to ethology. I hope you all have understood what would be we studying in the future, or in the further discussions we would be dealing with the behavior, different kinds of behavior we observed in nature, we observe in different organisms living on this earth, with along with the human beings. Not about the human beings, because the psychology is the subject that deals with human behavior. We would be dealing with all other animals, may it be in the field, may it be in the domestication process, and the captivity. Thank you.